Welcome back to the channel. Today's job is changing the seals on the final drive for the K100. When I took it apart, it didn't look in the best. They were obviously leaking, so that's the main seal and the inner seal. I've only found one video online that shows you how to do this, and that was in Polish. I don't speak Polish, so I've just gone on what I saw. It looks like all you need is a big hammer and a little bit of patience. I've got the hammer. Let's see how we get on with the patience and see how we get on. Let's crack on. Right then, from what I saw online, it's a case of hit this with a big hammer. As you can see around the edge, it was leaking. Even just sat upside down, there was fluid leaking out of it, so it'll definitely leak while it's running. So here's our hammer. Let's give it a go. Well, it's definitely moving. Maybe my blocks of wood should have been bigger. And there we go. So all we've got to do is get that seal out now. Right. So bearings all look good. There's no obvious damage in there, so I'm happy with that. We'll give that a clean up and we'll get the new seal in. So I thought while we're doing the mucky jobs, we may as well knock this old seal out at the same time, and we can clean everything up. Maybe something a bit more substantial, eh? What again? I think that's in better days, don't you? Right, we'll put that to one side. We may use that to knock the new seal back in. So let's have a little tidy up. So that's got to go back. Now, I'm just looking at this metal seal. Got to make sure that goes back in the right orientation. So that's going to go over there. That's right. Yep. And let's give this a little bit of a clean. I think that edge where the seal's sitting probably needs a little bit more. That looks somewhat worn. Well, let's get the oil off it. Might as well get that inner seal out as well while we're at it. I think we might need to get a little bit of a wire brush on that. That looks a little bit manky. Right, let's get our Dremel. Right then, let's give this inner edge a bit of a clean. It's definitely seen some signs of wear, so you want to make that a little bit better. There we go, well that looks a darn sight better. Right, now I think we need to clean that edge where the inner seal sits. A little bit of WD. Yeah, I think we need something to get in there, don't we? A bit of a brush. let's get something else. At least that's ready for the seals to go back in. So I'm not applying any grease to the seal because obviously in here we don't want it moving around. I'll probably apply some red rubber grease to the inner bit as I go to put the final drive in. Well, that certainly looks better than the old one. Now what we've got to try and do is get the final drive in. So for this, I'm going to use a little bit of red rubber grease, hopefully get that sealing that into the seal a little bit easier. I don't imagine this is going to hurt any on this bit. Don't want to knock the seal back out. Right, let's see how this goes in. Mustn't forget our metal disc. I can't tell whether that's going or not. Well, it's not coming back out, so that's a good thing. Sounds like the note's changing. I'm not hitting too hard on there, I don't want to damage anything. That doesn't look like it's going in square. Right, let's come back out. That was nearly a disaster. Now, am I doing something wrong? A little keyway there, but I can't see a keyway on that. I don't think red rubber grease on there is probably the best thing. Let's use some normal grease on that. If anybody out there knows that I'm doing this wrong, please let me know. So unfortunately, my Insta camera has stopped recording, so the rest of this is going to be with you. Right, that's out of the way. That looks a little bit squarer. Or does it? Well, it looks a little bit better. apologies for the braking filming. Did get that in. It ended up nice and flush. Took a little bit of persuasion, as most things do. Now what we're going to do, get this bearing back on so it's seated nice and flush on there. It is a little bit tough to get on, so again, and obviously a little bit tough to get off as well. We'll heat it up a little bit, again not too much, but just see if we can make it a little bit easier to get in. Save burning the fingers. Again, this amount of heat isn't going to affect the bearing, just hopefully get it to expand a little so it'll go on. And all we've got to do is make sure we put it on in the right orientation. Smoke should be a good indication it's hot enough. There we go. A little bit of heat always does the trick. Right, we'll give that a second to cool down. Then we can start reassembly. We have got to add our outer seal as well, so let's not get that on the hot bit of metal. Do you know what? Instead of wrecking it, let's just wait for a second. Right, let's get this inner seal on. Come on, this can't be that difficult. There we go. Again, I think a little bit of smear, just to make sure that doesn't bind up anywhere. There we go, hopefully that'll help. A little bit of tissue. Right then, so now we've got to figure out the orientation for putting this back onto there. Fortunately, I have another K100 outside that I can go and look at and figure out which way around this goes. Right, let's go and have a look. Okay, here's our other K100, which is going to be like a 3D Haynes manual. What we want to look at is this down here, the final drive. So looking at those two bolts there and other one on the inside of there, we base it off that. We know there where that one's going to sit, so I think we've got an idea. Let's go and see if we can put it back together. Let's move this out of the way for a second. Don't think I need those anymore. Bring this into place. So when we looked at it, we were in that kind of orientation. So well, that works. That's just not sitting flush. Let's just make sure we are not missing anything. Helps if you don't get your finger stuck in it. So I think we're going to put a little bit more red rubber grease on that, just to make sure it slides in. Actually, Right then, let's give this another go. Okay, get the fingers out. It would help if the bolt hose lined up. Let's try that again. So if we drop a couple of these in, we know they're in the right place. So that's in there. I think once we tighten these down, that should do it. So 21 Newton meters for all these bolts. So let's get those in. Obviously, I'm not doing these down too tight. Let's get it a bit of even pressure on it. Right, that's all those tightened down. Let's get ourselves 21 Newton meters of torque. 21. Again, let's just make sure this is even. One. And that, as they say, is that. That's a winner. Pleased with that. Right then, now we can reattach this to the actual drive shaft. Well, the drive shaft housing. So I have checked that spline for play. One of the things I must do though is put a little bit of grease on it before. Actually, looks like it needs a little bit of a clean as well. So let's clean that first. As you can see, it looks a little bit scabby. That won't take much. So we have bought some specific spline grease. Actually, let's make sure that's cleaned off properly. There we go. Those splines look a bit better. Just put a little bit of grease on them. Obviously, once this is back in the housing, it'll be impossible to get to. So I may as well make sure we do this properly now. There we go. Make sure we move that round a little bit. There we go. Right then. Now let's get it back in place with the housing. That's out the way, that's out the way, that's out the way. There we are in this orientation.
and our shaft is going back on like this. We'll get our dowels to line up. There we go. Our bolts are ready, all nice and polished. And our torque setting for these is going to be 40 Newton meters. And here's our second torque wrench. I do like 10 tools, they are nice quality. Where's my adapter? There we go, what do we say? 40 Newton meters. There we go, 40 Newton meters. May need to figure out another way of doing this. That's not working particularly well. Maybe I need to put it in a vise and sort it out. Well, that's it then. Final drive. All sorted and put back together. So that's a nice job done for the day. So now I'm just waiting for some fuel lines to arrive during the week and we can start putting everything back together. Didn't want to put the frame back onto the engine yet, just see if I can make it easy to run the fuel lines and anything else that can be done without the engine being on. But at least that shouldn't cause us any problems in the future now. Very happy. Right. See you on the next one.